Time now for Next Up, where we highlight the entrepreneurs and trendsetters moving the needle in the markets, technology, and venture capital space. Investors often stress the need to diversify their portfolios, maybe include some hard physical assets like maybe whiskey. CaskX, this is a company, makes it possible for everyone to invest in bourbon barrels and Scotch whiskey casks from leading distilleries. How does this work? Joining us now to explain is Jeremy Kasler. He is founder and CEO of CaskX. So, Jeremy, are we talking about investing in the barrels, the physical barrels, or the whiskey inside, or both?
Well, both. So you invest into a new fill barrel of bourbon, which is a barrel that's been newly filled, as the name suggests. And then the barrel gets put into a rick house or a storage facility for up to 8 years, and as it ages, the flavour profile changes and it increases in value. And then at some point, we hope to sell the barrels and make some money.
And how many barrels does one buy? Do you buy 1 barrel at a time, 100 barrels at a time?
Well, we would go out normally to a distillery and we would source maybe, say, 2,000 barrels, and then we would sell them in smaller quantities of 50 or 100. So most of our clients come in around the, say, the 50 to 70 barrel mark, something like that.
For those folks who come into this investment, Jeremy, I mean, is there like a lockup period where, basically they have to go to stay invested in this? What's the general structure of it?
Well, legally, they have to hold the barrels for at least 1 year. That's the SEC guidelines, because this is considered a security for SEC purposes. In order to make money, you would need to hold the barrels for at least 4 years, but we would ask our clients to expect to hold for up to 8 years. So generally speaking, anywhere from 4 to 8 years would be the premium spot.
Of course, there are a lot of people that will invest in this simply because they like whiskey or like the concept. But at the end of the day, a lot of investors, as you know, Jeremy, just want to know what the return's going to be. What type of returns do you, I know you can't make promises for returns, but what type of returns do you think could be typical on a year-to-year basis?
Well, we've seen historically somewhere between sort of 12 and 14% per annum, something like that. There is a real bourbon boom at the moment. There's more bourbon being sold in the US, but more importantly, internationally, there's a massive demand, and the supply isn't quite meeting demand, so the prices are going up exponentially.
How do you source your distilleries? I mean, if there's a bourbon boom, that means a lot more people are going to get into it, and that means a lot more supply coming onto market too.
Yeah, well, we have our due diligence. We look at different distilleries. We build relationships over a number of years, because if we look at, say, 20 distilleries, we might recommend one. So once we've recommended that distillery, again, we build a relationship and we try and buy as much as we can, which isn't always easy. And whatever we can get, we can sell on to our clients.
So give us a sense of the size of the investor base for casks. What did you start with? Where is it now? What's the growth rate here?
Well, as a company, CaskX started in the US 4 years ago. We were formed initially in Australia, then we opened in Hong Kong. Year 1, we did around about 5 million in revenue. Year 2, 10 million. Year 3, 20 million. And this year, we're looking at somewhere close to 30 million in revenue.
Wow, and I am curious though, too, and it gets to something that you just said a little bit earlier, and also to Scarlett's previous question too. When we talk about the boom, and more importantly, the export opportunities, earlier this week there was a lot of concern coming out of Brown-Forman, of course, a behemoth liquor maker, about tit-for-tat tariffs under the Trump administration and whether that would affect its ability to export some of its American whiskey to places like Europe. I assume you have to have this on your radar, and if so, how much of a factor will it be in how you model your financials going forward?
Well, tariffs come and go. So, previously there were tariffs in Europe, and when the tariffs came into place, the American whiskey market started focusing on different markets. Then the European tariffs were taken away. So it's something that's cyclical. The 1 minute there's tariffs, then there isn't. So at the end of the day, the international demand is absolutely huge. There's more people drinking whiskey in India, in China. All these new markets are now coming into play. So it's not necessarily just about the US market. There's 8 billion people who are potential clients overseas, as opposed to 350 million here.
Have you thought at all about diversifying CaskX. And I ask that because while a lot of us love whiskey, myself included, as you know, tastes can change on a whim. And all of a sudden, everyone starts drinking vodka or, for some strange reason, tequila. And these things kind of come and go. And so all of a sudden, whiskey falls out of favor. Are you prepared to deal with that? Or do you sort of have a plan in place to continue that growth, specifically in the bourbon and whiskey market?
Yeah, well, it's hard to plan for changing tastes, of course, but getting back to the international demand, that India historically has been the world's biggest market for or drinkers of spirits. So as those markets expand, it's kind of irrelevant whether tastes change, a little bit here or there. So, we're quite confident the boom is current. It will continue. If you go to Kentucky or Tennessee, all you see is, distilleries being built and rick houses being put in place. So we're very confident, very bullish about the market.
All right, Jeremy, great stuff and really interesting concept here. Jeremy Kasler there is the founder and CEO of the company CaskX, part of our Next Up segment here. You can invest in this, Scarlet. I don't know if you're a whiskey drinker or not, but you don't have to be, as long as you believe that other people are.
I know, but what would I give up? Do I not invest in wine because of this? I mean, like, if I have an alternative asset, which one do I pick?
I don't know. I mean, it's either this or Bitcoin. I don't know. What else is out there?